Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Today I want to share with you some reveal on the new upcoming Web3 game called Geeked Out Basketball. It's created by the person Guy From Ajax. You find him on X at Geeked Out Basketball, but you know him from Splinter Coach. He's the creator of Splinter Coach, which is the data analysis tool for Splinterlands, a device and an app that I use all the time. And so I had the opportunity to interview him about this new upcoming game, and it looks good, and I'd love to share the information that he shared with me with you. If that sounds interesting, stick around. Let's get into it. Before we went live, we wanted to talk about Geeked Out Basketball a little bit. A game that you're creating, a blockchain-based crypto or collectible card game, and you said you maybe have some stuff to share, or you want to talk about where it's at, or tell the people some
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
I'm going to come back
yeah,
to.
I would love. Yeah,
I'm
and
going
that's not the main theme of this, but I thought it just might be a little fun thing for you to show your community. I think for folks who may know, I've been developing this game called Geeked Out Basketball, and I just like this is like the first time I'm kind of ready to show something to the world.
to. Cool.
The quick caveat: there's a lot of bugs. It's very raw, right? But I still kind of have something. I just kind of want to put it out there because I'd like to get an alpha launched within the next, I don't even want to put a date out there yet because I don't want to not meet it, but I want to start getting some feedback on it.
Mm-hmm.
But the quick context is this, it's going to be a Web3 game, but Web3 is not going to be what's special about it. It really is, and do you see it on my screen
I
now?
do. Yep.
Or
Yep.
yeah. So really what this is, I'm a sports simulation gaming geek. That is hands down my favorite type of genre. And so I've actually built basketball and football game engines, American football, and then have built this game called Geeked Out Basketball that I would like to launch. And so I figured I could just kind of show people a little bit of a sneak peek and kind of give a sense for that. And if anyone does have any thoughts or comments, I'd love to hear it, good or bad.
Yep.
And honestly, when you're developing something like this, the bad comments are probably more valuable than the good comments. So like if this looks boring or not fun, I'd love to hear it. But for a sports simming geek like me, I'm into it. But
Cool.
just kind of like the whole thing is we're not licensing anything. So these are hypothetical high school basketball conference. And I think part of the reason we don't want to license anything is we just saw the news about Genesis League this morning, right? Where they're pulling all the MLS players off their cards.
Oh wow.
But yeah, but the heart of the game is I'll kind of show you. It's similar to Splinterlands in that every player has 12 attributes or different attributes, and you can level them up as you do it. So like, for example, every player has a scoring, that's their ability to score in the inside, shooting, which is outside shooting, inside defense, outside defense, passing, ball handling, rebounding, strength, agility, endurance, basketball IQ, and free throw shooting ability. And essentially every player has their own unique set of traits. So you can build your lineup as you see fit. And you can also see like every player has a different rating based on their traits at a different position. So this guy, and he's on a scale of 0 to 100. So he's a 54 center, but he's a good outside shooter, right? So he's an actually 86 shooting guard.
Cool.
Because he has like a 100 shooting. So again, you can kind of do all kinds of interesting things
I
like
really
that.
love that. I don't know if that feature was present when we last talked about it, like unofficially, just the ability to move them into different spots. Because obviously, you in a real world scenario, you could do that, and that's such a thoughtful like. One of the things I say about Splinterlands is that in any blockchain-based video game, you need to give the player agency. You just that capacity to move them from here to there it might be strategically ineffective, as you just showed us on center, if we moved them to center, but it's important for the player to be able to consider that because maybe their card collection is less deep than they would want, and they want to be able to move that around or think that through in different ways. So it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, and another reason that might be relevant is, we actually drawing some gameplay mechanics from TCGs and Splinterlands. So I'll kind of show you the way the game plays is you can pick any one of these 8 teams, and each team has its own sort of like personality and strengths and weaknesses. So, this is the most talented, muscle and defense, hustle and attitude, wicked smart. They're the most, like, they tend to read like tendencies and zones and that kind of stuff better. There's all kind, these guys are very good shooters, etc. And so what you would do is you'd pick your team. You're going to get matched against somebody else in real time. You'll see what your matchup is. Then you'll set your lineup, and we're probably going to change the name, but similar to Splinterlands, you're going to have a mana cap to work within. So
Yeah.
this is actually a low mana one. And so instead of summoners, we have coaches, and you get different buffs. So like the more expensive ones will help your shooting offense or shooting defense. The middle ones will help your team rebounding or conditioning.
Yeah.
And then the 1 mana leader will, this is like, she's the cheerleader, right? So you'll have better, more powerful momentum swings. So we'll do this and go with her. And then again, you have a mana cap of 17, so I'm gonna have a pretty limited lineup in here, but every player, their mana is represented here. These are going to be abilities. These are just placeholder circles right now, but similar to how you have Shatter and that type of stuff, right?
Yes.
We're going to have different abilities, and you can just build your lineup. And so, like, I know that this guy's a really good shooter, so I'm going to put him at shooting guard. This guy's a pretty good defender. I'm going to put him at small forward. This guy's a good rebounder. I'm going to put him at center. And so I've got 7 mana to work with. So let's put this guy at point guard and just drop this guy in at power forward for the sake of building a lineup here.
Yeah.
And you can move things around. So you got your lineup. And then the next step you do before your match, it's waiting for your opponent. And then it's done. It's actually going to then queue up your opponent's lineup and your lineup.
Yep.
And what you'll do is, now that this has happened, the game has already been simulated, similar to Splinterlands.
Yep.
But you can watch it unfold. And so the quick caveat here is the animation is still really rough. So all the logic and everything that's happening on the back end is very bulletproof, very airtight. We haven't like the animation you're going to see is still a bit sloppy, but the goal is, that's the main thing we're working on now, to make the animation feel more organic and true to what's happened. But this will kind of give you a sense for what the animation looks like.
Yeah.
Well, and of course now it's moving slow. Oh, here we go. So then you can it's going to be like these circles moving around the court. We'll probably evolve the animation to maybe actually show players and stuff. And it's turn-based animation right now, so it still feels a little clunky. And we need to work on things like, displaying more telegraphing information up here, because I think people like to see what's happening. But the whole thought is that, you're going to be able to kind of see the plays that are called, and then, when shots are made, and like that guy missed it, and rebound, and it's just going to be kind of going a lot back and forth, right? So again, this animation is super, super rudimentary, but the logic's there, and so that's kind of what sim gamers care about the most, is like, did I build the right lineup? Is it doing the right things, etc.?
It's more frustrating. There are so many games that are beloved that don't have the graphical interface that that is not the primary concern of a wide swath of gaming community. And I think more important than the visual will definitely be like, do my choices matter? Does my input around the team, that agency I spoke to, does it actually impact and affect? Like, is it meaningful that I have Freddie Anderson at center, or am I going to, and would I win, but then will I lose if I put him a point guard or whatever, because the data just, I slipped off a little, like, and that's what Splinterlands gets right, where like, if you put your tank healer in the first position and he's got 3 hit points, you're in big trouble, in Splinterlands. That feel needs to. So if the back, like you say, if the back end logic and the numbers and whatnot is working, I think honestly, like as I look at this, my first reaction is like, that wouldn't slow me down at all in terms of my interest. Yeah, I can see how it's like moving step by step, and that is part of making sure that the logic's right. It's not just happening willy-nilly, like blue's going and white's standing still. Well, there's move 1, and then there's move 2, and there's move 3, and so it looks cool, man. It looks similar to the way you showed it last, except for I feel like the team selection has been drawn up in a really cool way.
Yeah. And you're right, it's turn-based animation right now, so we're working on making that feel more smooth, right? Again, like, you're literally, and your community's seeing probably the 35% version of this right now. And like, for example, there was like there was a free throw, there was a foul there, so we would have wanted to have a little animation in there where you saw the player fouling. And then we're going to work on a whole interface up here, so only the important information is being displayed.
Cool.
Whereas right now it's all this text, which people aren't going to read all of this when they're playing, right?
Yeah.
But again, this is like a development, even pre-alpha type of thing.
Yeah.
And then one other thing I was going to show you, and then we can kind of move on. But there's also, after you pick your lineup, there's going to be the ability to set your game plan specifically for every game as well too. So the way that would work is you'll set your lineup, and then what you would do is there's going to be a screen that pops up like this after you set your lineups. You're going to have sliders for 12 different settings, like how much inside offense, attack offense, outside offense, a set play, how much do you want to run zone versus man? Do you want to run a slow tempo or a fast? Do you want your team to play super aggressive or not aggressive at all? And then fast breaks, full court presses, and half court traps. You can set settings for those.
Cool.
And it's going to simulate everything based on these settings.
Dude, this is
and then these
huge.
all have impact as well too, right? It's like if you run one play too often, the smarter teams are going to catch on it, and they're going to like stop it more effectively. So you're rewarded to mix things up and everything else.
Can you affect game plan mid-game or no?
As of now, no.
Okay.
We're going to start with just a full simulated version. But one of our, if this thing gains traction and people like it, and we, becomes a business and build a community around it, I think the first thing we want to do is build a live version, like a full live version. I had launched a super alpha on the iOS and Google Play app stores as a mobile version about 3 years ago. And that wasn't playing against other people, but it was a live version. So you were always playing against a computer, and you could call timeouts, make substitutions, adjust your game plans, do all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
As well. So,
yeah, I think that would be like a sexy Web3 edition, but it does feel like logically down the road, because you go like, look what Splinterlands did. They released a collectible card game with an auto brawler mechanic, but then they brought in tactics, and then we're going to bring in spells and items, and so there's this expansion on the agency but you'd almost don't want all of it at day one, because it's already gonna be complicated. There is a sophistication to the gameplay that we've seen. Like the implementation of the best team is a sophisticated process. Plus, as I often say with regard to Splinterlands, the creation and the building of the deck that you're going to draw upon as the coach, like being the general manager who builds the right deck, is the game within the game, and I can see that will be present within this. You'll need to pick the right cards off the marketplace or open the right packs. You'll need to, level them up in the right ways and focus on certain, maybe whether it's your coaches, aka summoners, or whether it's your whatever key components on your team. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely. And then the other innovation we're looking to bring to sports simulation gaming is just a shorter gameplay loop. So right now we're thinking the core is going to just be 1 8-minute quarter against your opponent. And we're going to try to make games actually animate in 5 minutes or less, because most of the popular simulation games out there, like Out of the Park Baseball or Football Manager, sim gamers love them, but honestly, it takes like 45 minutes to play a game, right? And whatnot. And we're going to launch versions that are full 4-minute or 4-quarter games and that type of stuff for people who want to do that. But we actually think it could be kind of a more fun, quick gameplay loop for a lot of people, just to knock out like 28-minute or 25-minute games in a few hours or something.
Yeah, I think that's probably wise. It looks great.
Yeah, thanks for letting me share it with your community. This is literally the first time I've showed to anyone other than like my business partners, my wife, and a few other people. So
yeah, man, I genuinely think it looks cool. And I do think there will be a community of people who will be excited about this. Like, I think, it's got the right foundation. I mean, interestingly, the game that I love, Splinterlands, and that you love too, when it launched, it didn't have a game. Like, it literally is like, hey, who wants to buy cards? And then they built around and so this looks great. It is playable. It looks entertaining. It looks it looks logical, but more important than that, like, again, there just has to, in any game, the player has to feel like they have agency. When I looked at other games that I won't name names, but when I looked at other games that we've seen in this space, often I say something is not fun because it feels like my choices don't really matter, or I don't really see, like, there's not that intuitive, like I push here and I see an X comes back. But in the short, demo that you've given us here, it's evident, it's perfectly evident that in fact the choices are going to matter, and that, there's that control that will allow disproportionate victory for the good players, and, more losses for the people who don't get it. And that's what makes it a game. It's not a game if you don't have that.
Yeah. And then the other thing too, and then I don't want to belabor it too much, but another thing that's important to sim gamers is training their players, right? Like they love training and seeing their attributes move.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Totally.
the system we want to validate this won't overtax the blockchain when we get there. But what we're thinking is every card's going to have 10 levels. And as you level them up, we're thinking the first 5 levels are going to be preset attributes like Splinterlands cards.
Mm-hmm.
But then the thought is that once you get to level 6 and beyond, you can customize which traits you want to level up on your players. So you can build the type of team. Maybe you want to build a team that's just all about defense and like free throw shooting, or something like that.
Yep.
You can build the team how you see fit from level 6 and beyond is what we're thinking.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Dude, great stuff. I am gonna try and wrap there because the family's home, but give everybody the X account, and when can we expect to know more about this, and anything else you want to talk about before we head out?
Sure. So yeah, you can follow me on X on Geeked Out B-Ball. I also have a YouTube channel called Geeked Out Basketball. And then you can also go to splintercoach.com or go to the Geeked Out Basketball Discord. We have Splinter Coach and Geeked Out Basketball on the same Discord, just with different channels. And yeah, in terms of Geeked Out Basketball, again, I really don't want to put dates out there and then not meet them, because I'm literally me and one developer, and then we've got like resources we pull in as needed.
Yep.
But I'm hoping to get an alpha out there for a number of people to start testing and give me direct user feedback soon, relatively soon. So,
cool. Really cool. And I do think it looks great. And just thanks so much for that amazing conversation too around Splinter Coach and the Splinterlands data. Guys, you should check it out. I mean, I personally, none of this is paid. I just love these 2 products that he's showed me before. Go check it out if you think data analysis on Splinterlands is interesting, and stay tuned for more for Geeked Out Basketball, or follow him on X. Thanks very much for coming to hang out. Guys, thanks very much for listening. I hope you all have an amazing day. God bless.